I feel to it. Just needed
He
a key
writes so
change.
many songs for so many different people, though. His fingerprints are on everything, aren't they? But I know what you're on about. It's got the... It has a Westlife feel to it.
Just without the key change, but anyway, there you go.
Right, okay.
Have
That's
a good
above
show.
my pay scale now. You talked about key changes. All right, Lee.
Good luck.
Have a great weekend.
You too, all right.
All right, bye-bye. It is the 9 till noon show this Friday morning. Let's get a news update at 9 o'clock and say good morning to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The funeral of 59-year-old Hugh Kelly, a victim of the Creeslaw tragedy, will take place this morning. He will be laid to rest following funeral mass at St Michael's Church, Creeslaw, 1 week on from the explosion that claimed the lives of 10 people. The last funeral, that of father and daughter Robert Garway and Shauna Flanagan Garway, will take place tomorrow morning at St Michael's Church. Emergency services are currently at the scene of what Gardaí have described as a serious crash on the Carrigart to Cranford Road. Motorists are advised to seek alternative routes. No further details are known at this time. Nearly 20,000 children have been languishing on hospital waiting lists for over a year and a half. 860 of those are waiting on an outpatient appointment at Letterkenny University Hospital. A total of 2,201 children and 16,942 adults are waiting an outpatient appointment at the hospital, according to latest figures from the National Treatment Purchase Fund. Health Minister Stephen Donnelly says the COVID pandemic continues to have an impact on hospital care. However, Donegal Dr Dennis McCauley from the Irish Medical Organisation says the problem has been ongoing for years.
I think these figures don't surprise general practitioners and doctors generally. This was a situation that was present before COVID. The COVID crisis have made this worse, but it has been representative of underfunding of the hospital-based system for many decades, and we are living with this on a day-to-day basis.
The EPA has raised concerns that the use of pesticides in Donegal may be impacting water quality. The water quality of the county's rivers has been found to be good or moderate. However, the catchment of Donaghmoville recorded one of the lowest percentage of satisfactory river water bodies in the country. The latest report from the EPA has highlighted concerns that sheep dipping may be contributing to water quality. Tom Douglas reports.
Concerns about the general decline in water quality and the overall ecological condition of some rivers in County Donegal highlighted a need to increase the number of chemical monitoring stations in the region. Some of the biological assessments indicated moderate or poor to bad quality conditions. A toxic chemical effect was suspected in some cases as the number of macroinvertebrate species was so low. The EPA says with Donegal having the largest population of sheep in the country and forestry covering 11% of its land area, it is suspected a possible cause for the decline in river macroinvertebrates could be from pesticides from sheep dipping or forestry activity. Widespread detection of cypermethrin was observed, particularly in the southwest and the north of Donegal. The EPA has recommended a national cross-agency forum be set up to focus on the appropriate management of spent sheep dip to prevent environmental pollution.
Weather now cloudy this morning with outbreaks of showery rain. Highest temperatures today of 10 or 11 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Má tá tú ag iompar cluiche, tóirí de vaccíní flu agus COVID-19 an breisiú atá ag teastáil do chóras a míneachta chun tú a chosans na mína macróin. Déadú an flu agus COVID-19 a bheith mar cúist le tinistrom chúiseach agus tú ag iompar cluiche agus cabhróid a chuid vaccíní leat tú féin agus de leanamh a chosans. Cur cruinne vaccíne de lista de rudí atá le déanamh agat, nó leir le de chuchtúir nó le de bhean cabhrach. Telo ólas ag hsc.ie ó aimimanacht na Services Láinte.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning to you. Welcome along to the 9 till noon show for this Friday. It is the 14th of October 2022 and it's 4 minutes past 9. Thank you for spending your morning with us. Hopefully you'll stick around. You can WhatsApp and text the programme, of course, on 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. And comments come into us at comments@highlandradio.com. And if you want to watch the programme today, as you can every day, go to our website, highlandradio.com, click the Watch Live button there, or hop on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or across our Facebook pages. Okay. We are joined now very shortly by our Friday panel, and we'll say good morning first to Breed Curran, who is a solicitor. Breed, thanks for joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
And we also are joined on the programme by John McAteer, editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune. John, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm okay, John, and I can sense from the tone of both you and Breed that we're all in the same space, really, I think, with the week that we've put in here. Mm-hmm. And, reading through your paper, I'll start with you, John, if that's all right, Breed. Reading through your paper yesterday, it's journalism, but it was also an outpouring of, your emotion, but the community's emotion. Do you get where I'm coming from? It was trying to put everything into words, and some beautiful words chosen as well, by the way, John. But a difficult paper to put together, I suppose. To
Oh, absolutely. It's probably one of our most difficult paper, given the magnitude of the tragedy, the suddenness of it, and the impact that it had on the community, and how it has just run a knife deeply into the heartbeat that is the Creeslough community. The families left absolutely and totally devastated. And you're almost scared in what you're writing and that you might offend somebody. But you're working to immense deadlines. There was days we were working 22 hours. I think since over the 5 days, most of us clocked up 100 hours. We had to do something that was going to be totally respectful, and that the people of Creeslough can look back on years from now and say, look, that gave us some hope, and that gave us some inspiration. And I suppose we have never come across anything like this here. Most communities would be absolutely and totally devastated, and so is Creeslough. The raw, deep wounds, the hurt, the jangled thinking of whether it's day or night, or does time matter at all. Time stood still at 24 minutes past 3 when the emergency bells went off across the county, and 6 units of the Donegal Fire Service and all the emergency services just landed in there to help the local communities. It's been a very moving and very humbling experience. It's a very powerful outpouring of grief, and I would simply say that everybody has done Creeslough proud, and you observe the grief. I was just in Ramelton there yesterday at the funeral of Leona, beautiful 14-year-old girl. The coming together of the community, the family circle, but beyond that, Leona's pals down at Mulroy College, and large numbers there from the Letterkenny Rugby Club. Very, very inspiring. The president has been totally inspiring. So has the local clergy. It's been unbelievable. And as I say, I'm sure you've been there yourself. There's been more vigilance. There's been so much good going on there. People have poured their hearts out, and they've wrapped their arms around those bereaved, and they will continue to do so because they will have to. But they do things like this in Creeslough because they have an inspirational leader there, and Father John Joe Duffy. Mm-hmm. Father Martin Doohan was absent at the beginning of the week. He hurriedly got back again. Bishop Alan McGuckian has been an absolute tower of strength. Bishop Forster of the Church of Ireland, Bishop Reverend David Hughes, the Church of Ireland rector down at Dunfanny, and Susan Moores, who's the Presbyterian rector in Kerry-Keel. All of that fed into it. And overall, 10 deaths, 10 funerals. It's absolutely beyond grief almost. But the people have borne up very, very well. And they have, somebody said to me yesterday, what do you see in Creeslough more than anything else? Courage. The people's silent grief in the public glare of the media is never going to be easy. Coping with all of that publicity, coping with it, and indeed trying to remain aloof from it, because everybody's grief is personal. There's been 7 funerals so far. All 7 have been very private. They've all had their own ethos of spirituality, and indeed the little things that matter most to them in personal life. It has been absolutely heartbreaking, because there's been oceans of tears and tears of heartbreak, and it's going to take time. Yeah. As I said earlier on there, time stood still, and as we measure time, it doesn't happen in a community that is so bereft.
Yeah, and anyone who's suffered a bereavement, when I say everyone, I mean everyone deals with things somewhat differently, but there is the period of the loss and the nature of this loss kind of changes things to some extent. But then you have the preparation, you have the wake, and you know your communities with you and around you, and then you have the funeral. And then there's that period afterwards. Now, no one is going away in terms of community supports and what have you, but there's then a lot of time where you're on your own, and that's when you really sort of start working through it, really. And I think maybe that's when, in real terms, the clock almost starts in terms of if time heals. Well, when's that going to start happening?
Well, small things will have to start happening next week. The bereaved families will finally get space to breathe in private, to go bring fresh flowers to their graves, to remember, to pray, to kneel down and go home and talk about it. And the community is there as part of that with them. But they'll be doing so in a very private manner now that we have all departed from the scene and the cameras and the lights are gone. Donegal County Council will be holding an important meeting on Tuesday to sympathise, because the council has played a huge role in the whole operation in Creeslough from the moment it happened. Probably up to 70 firemen from Donegal County Council, hundreds of voluntary workers, hundreds of, I mean, the best effort of Donegal put his foot forward last Friday evening. The heroic work of those first people from the community who raced to that scene, because the reality is that Creeslough, like most other rural villages, it might seem close, but it isn't. In the event of a massive emergency like that, the emergency services, fire service, are at least half an hour away at best. In the meantime, that vacuum is heroically filled and was filled by dozens of people, maybe 100 people.
Effectively, a human train. Stay where you are, John. So we'll talk specifically about the response, I think. But I just want, Breed, your initial reflections. I mean, this is just...
John has captured it perfectly. I think the whole country, this has been ambushed by the grief of Creeslough. I live in North Galway, work in Roscommon, and it was all anybody was talking about this week. Just to go back to the point that John was making about time, I was listening to the radio, I think it was Father Brian Darcy, always absolutely fantastic and always puts his finger on it. He said, time does heal, but it doesn't take the pain away. What it does is it makes you walk well with a limp. And I think that's exactly what Creeslough will do for a long time. It will limp along, and those supports need to be there. And the government needs to step up to the plate now, and the county council needs to step up to the plate and put those supports in place for the people of Creeslough. The one person that struck me during the week was Father John Joe Duffy. I mean, has the man slept since last Friday? I don't think so. And yet he comes out day after day and delivers very, very thoughtful, heartfelt sermons that obviously support that community in Creeslough that is absolutely devastated.
I think, Breed, on that point, if you don't mind, on Friday, in the few short hours after it happened, he was there, and I was conscious as well too that these are friends and people he knows as well. Yes. Do you know? So it's not like there's a parking of emotions. He's part of it.
And the other thing about it is, at the end of the day, I go home to my partner, to my husband. You go home to a family. Father John Joe, I don't know anything about the man. Does he live on his own in a parochial house? He goes into a house and closes over a door, and he's there left alone with all that he has to deal with himself. And I'm hoping that his bishop and his fellow priests support him and all that. And it just goes to show, I mean, in this country, we've had a very, very checkered history with regards to priests and the Catholic Church. But when something like this happens, it just goes to show the importance of faith for a small rural community and the importance of a man like John Joe Duffy, who obviously is at the heart of the community. And I hope that he is supported.
Yeah, Breed. And when I've allowed myself to think about it, because sometimes, if you...
Yes.
You know what I'm on about? Like, if you were to sort of really think what families are going through, you wonder, could you pull yourself out of that?
Could you get up in the morning?
Yeah, but even any of these 4 days of funerals, we're heading into 4 days of funerals, it's unbelievable. But it's the ripples of it. Like, say, for instance, Leona's funeral yesterday. Obviously, you've got the family's grief. Her mum and dad, they're having to say goodbye to their little gem. But it was then her school friends and peers that had to step up and stood up and readings and bringing stuff up, and just the impact on them. And then their mums or dads or caregivers then have to help them try and process that. And then you've got the situation in the school, because it's the ripples of it. You know what I mean? These people are so important to us.
Grief has tentacles that just extend out beyond those who were immediately impacted, and I also feel for those who, had witnessed the initial scenes and the trauma that will have with them and stay with them.
Yeah.
It's just been a shocking week.
Paddy Rooney is with us as well, friends of Letterkenny University Hospital. Paddy, your comments on what we've been going through this last week, us as a community.
Well, I was on your programme this time last week, and we were talking about very different things. Do you remember about the budget and St Vincent de Paul and so on and so forth? And just a few short days later, 7 days later, then we're in a very different place. And something of that magnitude, it puts things into perspective. And I think it was the comments of a homily, I think, given by Bishop Alan Gockiana in the middle of it all, in one of the days that he was saying Mass, one of the funeral masses, and he was saying about how fickle that life is. People that pulled up outside the shop and they went into the shop and they never came out again. And I suppose it should help us to concentrate on what's important and what isn't important. I mean, he mentioned about how fickle life, just at the flick of a switch, 10 people lost their lives. Many more injured in the hospital with serious injury, and all of the families traumatically affected by it, and the community. And it's incredible too that the world has now become a very small place. I mean, there was condolences from the Pope, the King of England, the British Prime Minister, the leader of the DUP at the DUP conference. And if we ever want to know how small the world has become, I think it was incredible that the community of Creasla, which I know very, very well because my in-laws come from Carrigart, which is the next town just down the road from it, and I know it very well, and I know the shop very well. It's incredible, that the impact that the community has. Now, all of the attention that's on Creasla at the moment, next week and the week after, and as time passes by, Greg, that attention will diminish and eventually it will disappear, and the community will be left with their own grief. We talk every so often, about the gradual demise of the role of the Catholic Church, and in fact, I suppose of participation participation, I suppose, in religion generally. And what would the community in Creasla would be without, if they didn't have Father John Joe Duffy and Reverend David Scoose too, plus the wider clergy, Father Charlie Byrne and Carrigart, and other clergy surrounding. I mean, they've been a huge comfort to the local community. And what would the community be like if they didn't have that? And we're losing that because we see a lot of the churches around Donegal, the congregation are very, very small, and there's a problem now getting priests and to serve the community, and that's going to be a huge pity because people do need spiritual assistance, and they particularly need it in some kind of on occasions like this. I mean, I was trying to think, when was there something of this magnitude visited on Donegal before? I mean, we had a car accident in Inishowen about 6 or 7 years ago when there was 7 young fellas killed in one accident. And then it's a good part of 40 years ago now since we had a fire in the Central Hotel in Bundoran, where there was many people were killed as a result of that. A tragedy of this magnitude is rare, thankfully, but when it does, the community needs to respond, the government needs to respond. I suppose the people who provide spiritual support need to respond. the community himself, I suppose, needs to get round the community itself, or the people that have been affected. I mean, it's just generally awful, Greg. I have to actually compliment you yourself. I know you must have been very near when the tragedy happened, because you were on the scene very, very quickly. And you know, a lot of people, they were looking for information, and they weren't being nosy or anything like that, but they wanted to know, was there anybody that they know had been caught up in this and had been killed or severely injured? And you were given by blow accounts. I know you weren't allowed inside the court and all that, but a lot of our public representatives and others who did attend, I mean, you gave very good coverage, and of course that is the value again of local media and local radio. So well done to yourself and the radio.
Okay, thanks for that, Paddy. John, we're talking about the emergency services and what was evident on Friday, overnight Friday and Saturday. It was a mix of machinery operators of the community working with the emergency services, but looking at the faces of those that were leaving the initial scene as they walked down to the coffee pod there, where tea and sandwiches and sausages and chicken goujons and everything just appeared. You know what I mean? It was amazing what happened. But as they walked down to refill, to get some sustenance before they headed back up again, these are regular people here. The first responders from the ambulance, this was an explosion, it seems, in apartments behind the service station. But this is a space full of flammable liquids. You're not supposed to light a cigarette near a petrol pump. Yet we have these people going into this space to try and rescue people with their hands. All of that, I just want you to talk a bit, and we'll all talk about that. But that was just unbelievable what they did. And as you mentioned already, that human chain of locals that turned up to begin with, to sort of by hand claw through. It was just a remarkable response by the locals initially and the emergency services right across the board.
This effectively would have been the community erupt at the very heart of its foundations, and this would be the community, the dozens of them, maybe up to 100, racing there in response, some of them getting there within maybe 60 seconds to 2 minutes. The expertise of the local building contractors, who's very much respected and varied, they brought their own skills to it. Lots of them were first responders. They did know what they were doing, but others were just totally inspired to be with them and to just agree to do what was required. There were numbers of cars on the forecourt thrashed. Nobody was quite certain at the early stages who was in those cars. Thankfully, there wasn't anybody in them, but how were they to know? We will never get beyond that early response and how they reacted. And this is the sense of community. It's a very powerful, very, very potent community. And this is what will finally pull them through at the end of the day, because they will redouble their efforts in different directions. They get the funerals over, they get over the weekend, they recover some of their energies. The enthusiasm and the urgency is within the community to rebuild. And probably over the weekend, the original building will be taken down. The equipment has moved in there on site, and we expect that to happen. We expect the road to be reopened. I mean, the N56 is a hugely busy road. It has been a very difficult week for everybody trying to get into Creasy and to get back out of it again. But we didn't complain about that. All of those things were necessary and essential. Come next week, as I said, there's going to be a special council meeting, and that will be treated very, very with great respect, and it'll be a special tribute to the people of Creasy and the council. John McLaughlin, and he's he is the executive director, and they will reach out to Creasy, and they will be guided by the views and the opinions of the people. They will not be intrusive, but the community itself will begin moving ahead. Remember that the community hub, that was the shop, that was the post office, that was the filling station and the takeaway and the deli and all of that, they will have to start putting that back again. That probably will start happening next week, and people will once again have a cause to drop into Creasy, and this is urgently needed as part of that whole process as part of the grieving process, because you're going to meet people, you give them hugs, shake hands with them, and they will respond likewise. And this is what strong community life is about. And just go back to Jared McFadden, his father, Ben McFadden, was the light and the soul and the life of the leadership of that community. And that is being taken up now by others. And we look forward to the Creasla View and all that entails. Jared Duffy and his team, they have that responsibility now. This is going to be their 22nd Creasla View. And that's a very cherished annual magazine. It's a bit like the Letterkenny annual. They have the onerous task now of basically wiping the slate, where they would have that magazine almost completed. But this is a big thing in community life. It's the small things that build up into a huge response. And Creasla is to be congratulated that they have that community spirit. And as Paddy was referring there to the church and numbers falling away, since John Joe Duffy came there, numbers have not fallen away. Throughout the pandemic and throughout all that thing, John Joe is down there at the very heart of the community, and I'm always inspired by Father John Joe Duffy, but no more so than in the past 5, 6, 7 days. Also inspired with the response from the bishop. Absolutely tremendous work. All of the clergy, all of them. Paddy, I think you asked the question, what would we do without them? We would be lost, we would be totally bereft, and we just couldn't get on without them. Maybe that spirit of renewal, which is part of the Creasla community, might extend itself a bit further. I mean, the days of large crowds and priests to cover every church is gone. That's not going to come back. We have to accept that, but we have to accept that, the inspiration, and you can see it in people's faces as you watch them in the churches there and reaching out to the clergy. You could see that inspiration on Saturday evening, you could see it on Sunday morning, you could see it at the funerals. And there probably will be a renewal of faith, and the church will have a very important role, maybe more important than we realise, but they will do that very quietly and probably late in the evening. And they will talk to people. The counselling services, we must talk about, Paddy, you would know more about this than me. All of the counselling services have been made available there, and they are so essential at the moment because so many people are very animated. They are shocked at what they actually did themselves now when they think about it and look back, that they raced into the danger zone without even knowing it. But congratulations to them, they did extremely well.
Breed, I've spoke to a number of people directly involved with this response, medical professionals, and such was the impact on them. And then, even seeing the emotion on different people's faces. But one of them said to me, I think she said it on air, so it's all right me quoting directly, that this has restored their faith in humanity, the response. For people, hardened people in the emergency services, to say that this has restored my faith in one case, it was in the emergency services. Such was the cross-border response, multi-agency response, literally
absolutely.
Helicopters to spare, if they were required, on-site ICUs, just the way everything came together. I can understand how they'd be so moved to make a statement like that this has restored their faith in society and the system.
Yes, yeah. And I suppose after 2 years of COVID lockdowns and pandemics and people being angry and cross and frustrated with everything, then when you see the response, and as you've touched on there, the cross-border response was the one that really impressed me most, was, Northern Ireland giving as much as they could to their neighbours. Absolutely wonderful response. Just in relation to Father John Joe Duffy, I don't know him at all. And I take John obviously does know him, and Paddy obviously knows him. I was so impressed with him all week, and then to have the fortitude to be interviewed and to hold coherent thoughts when he obviously has not slept since last Friday. The man is a saint.
He is an absolute saint. You have to know Father John Joe Duffy. He's right down there at the level of the youngest child.
John.
His appeal to the people is absolutely inspiring. It's absolutely immense. I was sitting with him last Sunday with the bishop and a few others, having a cup of tea at 1 o'clock, and he was taking a phone call. And you could hear this cross conversation. Where is Ballymount? Is it in Donegal? This was TV3 looking for him to be in Dublin for 7 o'clock the next morning. He did the interview live from Creasla, which was all the richer for that. But Father John Joe is there that he will not turn down any request. he has a huge understanding with the media. He has a huge respect for them because,
but he's
like,
plugged
in
into
his career,
plugged into the community as well. You see,
totally.
it's beyond
But you see,
it's beyond the
Yes.
religious relationship. He understands.
I get that impression.
He
you
understands
get,
the hardship.
but you know, it is also the fact that Father John Joe has been involved in so many different campaigns, the community hospitals and all this kind of thing. My first contact with Father John Joe Duffy is back many years ago. He'll remember it better than I do. We were attending a rally in Letterkenny. The Department of Education had a plan, believe it or not, to amalgamate many of the non-Catholic, the Church of Ireland Presbyterian schools, particularly up in the Glenties area. And they're a small community. Father John Joe got stuck in there, lobbied every politician in the country. And that is how I got to know Father John Joe. He's been involved in every single campaign, let it be the fishing port in Killybegs, let it be going to lobby politicians in
and
Dublin.
Doesn't pull his punches either. Let's
absolutely not.
Let's just put it out there.
I mean, he is a true Christian leader, and I mean, he has to be admired. Close up, he's such a very personal person. He has a huge understanding of the media and the needs of the media, and the media in Creeslough have been very respectful. There is no doubt about it. They have brought to the wider picture. You know, when you see your main evening news across 4 main platforms being broadcast live from the main street in Creeslough, you're sitting in your living room and you could literally reach out and touch Ray Kennedy. You know, it's this kind of thing that people get very animated about that there. They feel there's a bit of intrusiveness, but there isn't really. The media has a job to do.
I think there are sections, and for the most part, I think you're correct. I think there is, and you know,
there would have been some of
media people can be really quite sensitive sometimes, and there's an irony to that considering what they're covering.
But like, you know, overall, the whole management and handling of the situation in Creeslough. Just to see, Paddy, and you probably know this, one of the diversions was down Duntally on the way in from Carragart, and it's a very, very dangerous wee road. To see local men with the high-vis jackets in them, the rain streaming out of them all day on Sunday, and I just want to extend a word of congratulations to them. Extend congratulations to the Gardaí who played a heroic role.
In terms of keeping two-way traffic
David
going
Kelly,
where possible.
John McLaughlin of the council, Gary Martin, who's in charge of the emergency response in the council. You could name Joe McTaggart, the fire officer, Michael Scott, and people like that. And there are hundreds of people there. The General Hospital were totally and absolutely magnificent.
I want to bring Paddy. I want to bring Paddy in on that because I wanted to, and we'll invite you and Breed back in again, because this is when a call goes out like this. I presume, Paddy, everyone's at work. Everyone's got a job to do. It's an acute hospital. You know you're going to get calls sometimes. You know you're going to have to deal with stuff. But such was the scale of this and the localness of this as well. I mean, we had people on site there, doctors, nurses, other staff, who were going to be very closely connected to this as well. And yet their professionalism, of course, shone through, and speaking to families of the bereaved, those that I've spoken to, have nothing but positive words of how they were handled. You know, a waiting room that they'd been put into, how with the respect that they were being treated with, all sort of in a... can you talk a little bit about that, just as someone involved with the Friends of Letterkenny Hospital, but also having previously been management there?
See, I spent 16 years around or about in a senior managerial role in the hospital, and I think it was only 3 times in that period of time where the major incident was activated actually. And the hospital, it's an unusual experience because the hospital, just like flipping a pancake, turns into different mode very, very quickly. If the plan is activated during the day, lots of staff are around, so you don't need to call in as many staff, or if it happens out of hours, there isn't the same numbers of staff there, and a call has to go out for help. And it's incredible on the 3 occasions that we've ever do that. They will come in their hordes. In fact, I think Sean Murphy said on the radio that they had to ask people to stay back just in case this, because they didn't know what they were going to, the magnitude of what they were going to be dealing with. And there's no point having all the staff in now, because who's going to be there 12 hours time or 24 hours time or whatever. I believe that one of the consultants in emergency medicine went out to the waiting room in the emergency department and told them that the hospital was a major incident standby, and that the explosion had taken place and they were expecting casualties. And for people, if they could go home or go to their GP or come back tomorrow, and most of the people that were in the waiting room left. So there was a great understanding by everybody. And you see, they're all the different departments within the hospital, and every single one of them have a role to play in the major incident activation within the hospital. It's like the pieces of a jigsaw, and each department have their own thing to do, and the whole thing locks together on the one big plan. You see, the other thing about the emergency services do what the emergency services do. The Gardaí on Friday do what the Gardaí do. You know, we see the squad cars going by with the blue lights flashing, and we say, here you go, I wonder where they're going to. But they're responding to emergencies, not of this magnitude every day, but they're responding to emergencies every day. So are the ambulance, so are the fire service, and so are the hospital. I suppose it's the magnitude of this and the scale of it that asked everybody to ramp up. I mean, David Kelly from the Gardaí, when the news conference was on in Milford on Sunday, he said that John, your crew was probably there recording this, he said that they didn't actually have to put a call out to off-duty Gardaí. They just came in uniform, ready to do what they had to do, because they knew well that there was a role to be provided very near the site, and then there was a role to be provided peripherally back from the cycle traffic control and so on and so forth. And everybody that serves in a vehicle that a blue light is shining on it, and everyone that has a uniform, I mean, they're all trained to do this. Luckily and happily, they don't have to come across it very often. But when they do, I mean, it's incredible. I've been in the emergency department as a lay person. I've been as a clinical person in London as well, but I've been in a lay person, and I've seen the likes of Jerry Lane. He was involved in this too as part of the volunteer response service. But it's incredible how calm that they are and how forensic they are when there's apparently chaos around them. But that's what they're trained to do, and that's what they do.
Okay. Thank you, all three of you. We'll be coming back to you in a moment. I just want to let listeners know that the road into Carragard is closed from the Gap shop. People locally who know that road would know where that is, to the bridge. An alternative route has been put in place. It follows a road traffic collision this morning. Okay, we'll be back with more from our guests. We'll take a quick break and stay right where you are.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your current account or loan? We are now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features and competitive rates switcher loans.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Look, you've heard by now that there's something major happening in the banking industry, which will mean thousands of businesses up and down the country will have to move banks. This means that as well as change in banks, suppliers and customers will need to be notified. It's certainly not something you want to leave until the last minute. So, for a step-by-step guide on moving your business banking, search Bank of Ireland Big Move. Begin.
Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
If you're thinking of changing your washing machine, consider the brilliant 8kg 1400 spin washer from Blomberg. Raymond Sweeney here at Ben Sweeney Euronics. If you often need laundry washed in a hurry, this brilliant washing machine will get your daily clothes clean and fresh in under 30 minutes, saving money on your energy bills and giving you back valuable time. It also comes with a 7-year parts and labour warranty for peace of mind. Call in to us and see for yourself at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre Dunlow.
The car brand behind Ioniq 5, World Car of the Year 2022, is the same car brand behind the Tucson, Ireland's best-selling car. This car brand is Hyundai. Order for 2023 at the Hyundai Open Weekend this Saturday and Sunday in dealerships nationwide. Hyundai, home of World Car of the Year, Ioniq 5.
Your local dealer is Dippers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny. Open this Saturday 10 to 4 and Sunday from 12 to 4.
Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie.
Listen up, pet lovers. Feed your pets for less at Pet Value Buncrana. Get Burns dog food 20% off. James Well-beloved dog food 15 kg was €73.80, now only €60. Whiskas 40 pouch cat food only €16. Whiskas 7 kg complete cat food only €20. Get more value at Pet Value. St Mary's Road, Buncrana. Open 7 days a week. Find us on Facebook.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be joined by Business Development Executive with Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce and founder of Moss Marketing, Marie Shields. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. Business Matters podcast is also available to download at hineradio.com.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. Looking for a career in financial services? Consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services. Take the next step in your career and contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email execed, execed at atu.ie today.
Foley's Bakery. In changing times, you need the right support to take the next step in building your business. Foley's Cafe. At Bank of Ireland, we're here to support the financial well-being of your business as it grows, with faster, easier loan applications and dedicated business teams when you need them. Hello, Foley's Coffee Roasters. Search Bank of Ireland Business. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Over 18s only. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Don't just do okay in your career. Do great at Allstate. Don't settle. Soar. Don't procrastinate. Innovate. Don't do mediocre. Do magnificent. At Allstate. Great work, great life, great people. Where great opportunities await. Search Allstate NI Careers today.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Morning, John McAteer is so eloquent and compassionate in his words about Creasla. I bought the Tyrconnell Tribune for the first time last night, and it's a carefully crafted and often poignant piece of journalism covering such a tragic event. Just want to praise and acknowledge Father John Joe. That man deserves all the praise that can be bestowed on him. He has went above and beyond the call of duty. Every single mass was beautiful and so heartfelt. He truly is a fantastic priest. And this morning he's preparing, I'm sure, his eulogy for Hugh Kelly, who was fondly remembered at the vigil I attended in Downings last weekend. And Hugh will be buried later. His funeral will take place later in St Michael's Church in Creasla at 11 a.m. and he'll be buried afterwards in Dowes Cemetery. Hi, Greg. That was the exact conversation I was having with friends about poor Father John Joe. The poor man had to have all them funerals. Hopefully he's getting support. Bless you, Father Joe. Well, I don't think it's wrong for me to say, but there were at least a good friend of his turned up for the weekend to support him. I won't mention any names because I don't know if that's. But anyway, he did.
Like we all know who that is.
Yeah, and he had
like Father John Joe and that man are absolutely so close together.
Yeah,
and they draw great strength from each other.
And it was lovely the way he held himself because he kind of stood off Father John Joe's shoulder, just to, you know what I mean, just as that support. And also, Father John Joe mentioned at the funeral yesterday that he himself is going to engage with the council services. And Breed, that's really, maybe we can use this opportunity to speak to anyone who, I mean, some of us aren't great at getting help, and maybe you do when the time's right for you. But the services have been put in place there by the HSE.
Particularly, you boys are not good at talking.
Yeah, well,
the girls are much better.
I would love to say that's an awful stereotype, but you're talking directly to me, so I'm just going to have to take that one on the chin, Breed.
Absolutely.
Fair play to you, Breed.
It's good to talk. It's good to talk.
Yeah, it is.
Fair play to you.
And Paddy, to a specific number, the commitment that everyone will be called back, the supports will be there, and it's those that are living on their own, those who are trying to, I suppose, manage the emotions of their children. How do we do that? But it's good to see that those services, everything's been thrown at them, Paddy, to support people at this time.
On one side of the HSE comes up on your programme with all its warts and faults and so on and so forth. But there is a side of it now that we never see, and Dr. Maura Finnegan, who's the principal psychologist she manages the psychology service in County Donegal. She was interviewed on a few of the national platforms, definitely TV3 and RT, and she came across very well. She manages the psychology service, and she's the coordinator, I believe, of the psychosocial response here, because when the
Paddy, can I hold you just for a moment, because we've been talking about Father John Joe Duffy, and he's spared a little bit of his time this morning to join us. Father John Joe, a very good morning to you.
Greg, good morning.
I know you're very, very busy, and you're I'm sure preparing for Hugh Kelly's funeral this morning, and it's the fourth day of funerals. I hope. And I know you don't. I know this is not about you, and it's not about you, and you don't need to hear this, but you're going to hear it anyway. I hope that you feel and appreciate the outpouring of love and gratitude towards you from your flock, so to speak, but the wider Donegal Northwest community, the entire country. You have been an amazing leader at the most impossible time. So all I want for you, whether you want to accept that or not, is I just hope that you're feeling the support and gratitude and love towards you and what you've been going through yourself and what you've done for all of us this week.
Greg, I suppose little could we have imagined when you were the first to interview me at the scene, as far as I can remember, and you said only if I wanted to, in fairness, and you were so I come here, just that kindness and compassion. I think you could see the thing unfolding of what was unfolding, and I was just in a state of shock at that stage, as was everyone else around there. But I can't but help feel carried by my family, which is this community, the family of which I am one of, and it's just the grief that I am feeling in my heart, the heartbreakedness that I am feeling, and the pain that I am feeling is only a reflection of what we are experiencing in the community. And we have been carried by so many people in this county. And this morning is the first morning that I picked up a paper since this happened, and some journalist was saying that Creasla has been held by Donegal, and Donegal has been held and cared for by Ireland, and that is so true. And it's just that we are helping each other, and if our little Creasla has become anything, it has become, I suppose, an example of how amidst the greatest of tragedy, and it is the greatest of tragedy, and it's the most painful, that it is in helping each other and praying for each other. And I can feel the power permeating from the prayer, the vigils, the masses, etc., being said all around the world, and particularly those messages. And I know there's so many of our people that are abroad who want to be back in Creasla at this time, who are hurting so much, and are with us. And I am also thinking of them, and we're thinking too, Greg, in a very particular way, of those who are in hospital and those who remain ill, and come here, and just the empathy that has been shown to us, the empathy from yourself at that scene. You were one of the first that I knew of the journalist, we know each other, and the empathy from yourself, the empathy from so many others, and you have journalists come up giving you hugs, and the empathy shown by, of course, the people who were there, the responders, and just the work that was done by those who were the first responders. It was just, and it was Stella O'Malley that was writing in the paper this morning, and she said, out of Creasla tragedy comes a reminder we can all help to ease the pain, and that is what is happening. We're helping each other, we're ministering to each other, and the ways that we know that we can, and that is through love, through prayer, and through support. And sure, there's no words for it, Greg. There were no words that night, and there's certainly no words now. And the that's the pathway is always going to be difficult going ahead, and we're fragile. You know this area. We're surrounded by the sea, and along the seashore there are rocks, and rocks are strong and solid, but we're not rocks. We're sand, and the body is fragile, as we have seen, and the mind is even more fragile. And all of us need help going forward, Greg. We need to be cradled by the rest of Donegal, by the rest of Ireland, the rest of the world, that is cradling us at this time. But our own communities are so important, and we will get the strength from within our own community. And I myself am going to go for counselling, and whatever trauma counselling and help. And I urge everyone who was at that scene, because we experienced something, and you could see that unfolding there yourself, as could all others. We experienced something you should not experience in your community, and people are in trauma, and and I urge, and I'm just urging from the bottom of my heart, everyone out there who is at that scene, including yourselves as journalists, Greg, and so many others, to avail of counselling. And I want to pay tribute to all the services which we have done. In a very particular way, I want to pay tribute to the services in our own community, our own doctors, the medical centre, first and foremost of all, and all the others around about, doctors and so on, and centres. I want to pay tribute to our own pharmacy, and come here, there's so many others. Look at the people out helping at wakes now, the people making food, providing food, the local cafes in the area, the coffee pot up at the Wild Atlantic Way. Everyone has held Huckleberry.
Father John Joe,
sorry, Greg, I've just one
Oh,
second.
sorry, I beg your pardon. Your line broke up on my end.
No, sorry. I want to pay a particular word of thanks to the coroner, Dr. Macaulay, Dennis, and to the mortuary staff at Letterkenny Hospital and the whole hospital. Maybe we haven't even been thinking as far as Letterkenny yet. To pay thanks to Sean Murphy and all the staff at Letterkenny Hospital and all the others that we have already said thanks. We still can't say thanks enough for them. As many times. Carry on, Greg, sorry.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's just that your sound dropped out on my end, Father John Joe.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can get caught up in life and what's important and what's not important, and our disagreements and our different views, and we can become very internalized or selfish or whatever it might be. There was a mirror sort of held up to us all, I think, over the last week, and it's almost like there was a reset that we all kind of remembered what was important, what we mean to each other, why we need each other. For some, it'll be why they need their faith. It was something happened over the last week that put everything into perspective for so many people.
Yeah, and nobody held that mirror up more for us than at the funeral in Derrybeg when little Hamish got up to speak. Little Hamish, who is so brave, such a wonderful young man who gave, I think it was his confirmation money he gave to Mary's Meals at Christmas, or his Christmas money, and he got up to speak about the importance of his dad, and the importance of that relationship with his dad, and him and his, each and every person has been affected with great people, but I'm just holding him up this morning as a wonderful example of getting up to speak and reminding us of what's important, and that it's family that's important, that the life God has given us and the things that God have given us in this world that is so important. And we say that, Greg, as grown-ups, but when a child gets up and reminds us of that, he was just my inspiration at a time when I was breaking down so much myself. And it was overwhelming me. He, together with so many others, but him in particular, little Hamish in particular, gave me a sort of a kick up the ass, sort of how should. But to get on with it and be there for and just his strength, and Hamish probably, as we know, in shock still, as well, and the sadness must be overwhelming for that little man. But him and his mother, and there has been a reset. I think it's a out of every terrible tragedy, a light has begun to emerge, and I think the thing is that all the little things of this world that sometimes take us away from family, or what, they're not important. What is important is family and as people, and I think there has been a reset. There's some sort of a seismic shift and the thinking of what's important, Greg.
Father John Joe, finally, can I ask for a bit of guidance from you? Because as you can imagine, over the course of the last while, people will be messaging in or calling in and saying such and such a thing is happening. It could be a concert on Tuesday or a school play the following week. And we're all at different stages and we all don't know what's right and what's wrong. But from your perspective, is it a case that respectfully things have to begin to move forward? I understand why people might not want things to happen for different reasons, but if you cancel a concert, for instance, what impact does that have on 200 or 300 other people? Maybe it's better if people come together and spend some time and happiness with them. Have you any guidance in that regard for people out there, Father John Joe?
I suppose nothing is straightforward at the moment. I myself don't know, Greg. I'm living from minute to minute at times. I'm living from hour to hour, and I think it's something that we need to reflect on over the weekend. I'm trying to see how I can be of best support to this community. Bishop Mogukian, Father Paddy Dunn, Father Pat McGarvey, and myself were sitting here yesterday after we came back from the funeral in Ramelton. And those are the very questions we are asking, but we will move forward. It'll be a difficult pathway, but come here. Your advice to me is most welcome. The advice, we need to listen to each other and see how we move forward together, doing it as we have been doing it and helping one another, holding each other's arms, as I said, journalists coming up, giving me a hug, words will find us and God will guide us in our community. And, you said something important there that just struck with me, for those that community will help for those that prayer will help. And I'm a great firm believer in both prayer and community. And that's how we will just listening to each other.
Father John Joe, thank you so much, and again, thank you for everything. You've done for everybody. Okay,
it's thanks to everything. Thanks to the people. Thank you.
Okay,
from the bottom of my heart.
And we're here for you as well, by the way, going forward as well. Thank you, Father John Joe. Breed.
He's just an inspirational man. He's like the glue that's holding everything together there. And I was thanking everybody but himself.
Yeah, and he didn't really like me thanking him on behalf of everybody.
He was uncomfortable with it. You could see he was uncomfortable with it.
But that is the nature of the man, and hopefully you heard the words. Breed, thank you for your lovely words today. I know it's been an emotional hour for you as well, and I think it's really quite fitting that Father John Joe's was kind of the last contribution. Thank you so much, Breed. And of course, when I say last contributing, I want parting words from you, Paddy, if that's okay as well.
Well, I suppose my final word are, there is a saying, that some people are born great, others achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them. I'm not sure how apt that are, but John Joe, if he doesn't mind me saying, has a big set of shoulders, and greatness happened to be thrust upon him. He didn't want that, and he didn't expect it. But happily and luckily, those shoulders were able to take it and take it very well, and he happened to be the right man in the right place.
All right, Paddy, I'm glad you were with us this morning. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And John, last but not least, it's not much you don't know about Father John Joe, so I'm not sure much of what he said surprises you, because that's the nature of the man.
Absolutely not. But I mean, those final remarks that words will find us, God will find us, that is a very, very fitting epitaph to the spirit that is Father John Joe and his humility. And I just wish the people of Creeslough, I wish the grieving families the deepest of sympathy, and I wish them well for the future. And I know that they will be guided by Father John Joe but they'll be guided by their own spirit and their own history. So may God bless them all.
John, thank you so much. As I say, it's an accident of scheduling, I think, that you were on today, and no better person than yourself, because you choose your words so wisely, because you're a wise man, and anyone who should pick up the Tyrconnell Tribune as well, because even if you're not ready to read it now, I think it'll be of comfort and to people into the future. John, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
All right,
Thanks
bye-bye.
for having me
Take
on.
care of yourself. No, it's our pleasure. Right, okay. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to delay the news. We're going to go to the news now. I'm delaying it slightly here. But what we are going to do for the last hour is play some music, I think, just to, maybe that's an appropriate way to finish this week of this programme. So if you have a particular song that you would like to hear, maybe it's a song that was important to you this week, I would love if you chose the songs, because I'm terrible at it. So if you're listening out there and it's something completely different, but for the last hour, we're going to have Michael and Fionnuala back on next Friday, but we're just going to listen to some music together. Let me know what you want to hear. Text or WhatsApp 08660 25000, 08660 25000, and it can be any type of song that's important to you and means something to you, and we can share it all together. Or give us a call on 07491 25000. I'll try my best to do out the music that you want to hear. But as I say, for the last hour, it's going to be a problem for those of you watching on Facebook, because we can't stream music on Facebook, so we'll switch off Facebook, but you can still listen or watch on our website. But anyway, pick the songs for the last hour of today. Our DJs, I think, here at Highland Radio, I've been so proud to work here, have struck a really interesting and special balance over the last week. So fair play to them. But I want you to choose the music for the last hour. 08660 25000, WhatsApps and texts. Right, at 10:01, let's go to Michaela for the news.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The funeral of 59-year-old Hugh Kelly, a victim of the Creeslaw tragedy, will take place this morning. He will be laid to rest following funeral mass at St Michael's Church, Creeslaw, shortly at 11 o'clock, 1 week on from the explosion that claimed the lives of 10 people. The last funeral, that of father and daughter Robert Garway and Shauna Flanagan Garway, will take place tomorrow morning at St Michael's Church, Creeslaw. A special meeting of Donegal County Council will be held next week to acknowledge the tragedy. Creeslaw has become an example of how people can help and support each other. That's according to Father John Joe Duffy, who has been a central figure in the midst of the Creeslaw tragedy and leading the funeral masses of the majority of the victims and vigils for those who died, and to remember the people who remain in hospital recovering from injuries. On today's 9 till noon show, Father Duffy says people throughout Donegal have been united in grief.
I can't but help feel carried by my family, which is this community, the family of which I am one of. And it's just the grief that I am feeling in my heart, the heartbreakedness that I am feeling and the pain that I am feeling is only a reflection of what we are experiencing in the community. And we have been carried by so many people in this county.
Applegreen will hold a minute's silence across its locations today in honour of the 10 people killed in the explosion last week. It will take place at 3:15. Applegreen continues to raise funds for the local community of Creeslaw in association with the Irish Red Cross. The Carrigard to Cranford Road has been closed following a crash this morning. Emergency services are currently at the scene of what Gardaí have described as a serious crash on the route. The single vehicle collision occurred at around 8 o'clock this morning. The road is closed and is expected to remain closed for the foreseeable future. Motorists are advised to seek alternative routes and local diversions are in place. Nearly 20,000 children have been languishing on hospital waiting lists for over a year and a half. 860 of those are waiting 18 months on an outpatient appointment at Letterkenny University Hospital. A total of 2,201 children and 16,942 adults are waiting an outpatient appointment at Letterkenny University Hospital, according to latest figures from the National Treatment Purchase Fund. Health Minister Stephen Donnelly says the COVID pandemic continues to have an impact on hospital care. Donegal Dr Dennis McCauley, however, from the Irish Medical Organisation, says the problem has been ongoing for years.
I think these figures don't surprise general practitioners and doctors generally. This was a situation that was present before COVID. The COVID crisis have made this worse, but it has been representative of underfunding of the hospital-based system for many decades, and we are living with this on a day-to-day basis.
The EPA has raised concerns that the use of pesticides in Donegal may be impacting water quality. The water quality of the county's rivers has been found to be good or moderate. However, the catchment of the Donaghmore recorded one of the lowest percentage of satisfactory river water bodies in the country. The latest report from the EPA has highlighted concerns that sheep dipping may be contributing to water quality. Tom Douglas reports.
Concerns about the general decline in water quality and the overall ecological condition of some rivers in County Donegal highlighted a need to increase the number of chemical monitoring stations in the region. Some of the biological assessments indicated moderate or poor to bad quality conditions. A toxic chemical effect was suspected in some cases as the number of macroinvertebrate species was so low. The EPA says with Donegal having the largest population of sheep in the country and forestry covering 11% of its land area, it is suspected a possible cause for the decline in river macroinvertebrates could be from pesticides from sheep dipping or forestry activity. Widespread detection of cypermethrin was observed, particularly in the southwest and the north of Donegal. The EPA has recommended a national cross-agency forum be set up to focus on the appropriate management of spent sheep dip to prevent environmental pollution.
The group Women for Election is urging women in Donegal with an interest in politics to consider taking training courses to prepare them for potential election campaigns. The group says nationally only 26% of local authority members are women, and with only 4 women occupying Donegal County's Council's 36 seats, the percentage here is much lower than the national average at 11%. Spokesperson Megan Riley says with training and support, women can go far in politics, but says that the last local election in Donegal showed relatively few female candidates.
85 total candidates, but only 17 of those were women. So I suppose Women for Elections message is about the fact that we need to be encouraging and supporting and saying it to women within the county to put themselves forward. But there's ministers now in the Dáil that started off in their training programmes. There's ministers who found their campaign managers in our training programmes, and, you know, TDs and senators as well. We're supporting people right from the start of their interest in politics all the way up to them being elected.
Weather now turning drier and brighter through the morning with sunny spells and scattered showers developing. Highest temperatures today of 10 or 11 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Friday morning, October the 14th. The death has taken place of Rose Scott, Clunca, Culdaff. Removal this afternoon at 1 o'clock from Liam Collins' funeral premises, Culdaff, going to her home. Funeral arrangements to be confirmed later. Family time please from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. The death has taken place in North Shields of Francis Gribben, son of the late Frank and Sarah Teresa Gribben, née Griffin, formerly of Drumbo, Stranorlar, reposing at Quigley's funeral home Strabane on Sunday afternoon from 5 o'clock, with removal at 6 o'clock to the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar. Requiem Mass on Monday morning at 10 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The tragic deaths occurred in Creeslaw of Robert Garway and his daughter Shauna Flanagan Garway of 55 Massanas Cottages, Creeslaw. Their remains will be reposing at their home in Creeslaw from 1 until 10 o'clock today. Strictly family time from 10 o'clock tonight and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass in St Michael's Church, Creeslaw, tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, followed by private cremation. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on mcmmedia.tv. Family flowers only, please. The death has taken place of John White, Foyle View, St Johnston. Visitors welcome to John's home on Sunday evening from 5 until 10 o'clock. Funeral service in his late home on Monday at 12 noon, followed by cremation in Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. Family flowers only, donations if desired to St Johnston Presbyterian Church, care of Mr James Fleming, Stead of Age, St Johnston. The death has taken place of Gwen Crawford, née McGlynn, Glenford Lifford and formerly of Lisclune Donamana, reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock at 11 o'clock, followed by interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers placed to the Donegal Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live at clonleeparish.com. The death has taken place of Dennis Doherty, Carmore, Glentower, Carndonagh. His remains are reposing at his brother Jerry and Joan Doherty's residence in Carmore, Glentower. Funeral from there this morning at 10:15, going to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has occurred of Brendan Ronan, 34 Kalita Road, Castlederg. Funeral from the family home this morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Castlederg, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. And the death has taken place of Brendan James Malloy, Drumbarn, Ardra, reposing at 18 Ardnagrania, Ardra, House Private Please. Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock this morning at the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the second hour of the 9 till noon show. On the third hour of the programme today, we're going to switch to music, and you've been sending in your music suggestions for us. I just thought we would give the entertainment item a break this week for the week that is in it. So if you want to help choose the music for the last hour of the show, you can text or WhatsApp 086 60 25000, 086 60 25000, or call 07491 25000. I will try my best. You know, we're a radio station full of DJs, brilliant DJs. I'm not one of them, so I'm going to try my best for you out there, okay? Again, a big thanks to Father John Joe speaking to us this morning. We do appreciate his time. And I just thought we were talking about the person, the man, and it was nice to hear his words as well. The Tyrconnell Tribune, says this listener, provided compassionate and sensitive coverage of last Friday's tragedy. John and his team represent the highest level of journalism in this country. Greg, when the debris eventually cleared from Creeslough, perhaps consideration should be given to the erection of a memorial park on the site. Something to think about, Jim. Well, it's a suggestion. I would take my guidance from the local people. They know themselves. That was such an important centre of the town. Maybe the fitting tribute might be to return it to the heart of the town, or maybe, as you suggest, a memorial park could be erected. But they will decide amongst themselves, I'm sure, and they will know the right thing to do and what the majority want. I'm sure that's how things will progress there. It's not it is for they, of course, to make that decision. Father John Joe is a beautiful person, such a caring man, says a caller. Another Father John Joe is a wonderful priest. The week my son was going through open heart surgery, I met Father John Joe on my way into Stranola Chapel as he was returning to do a marriage ceremony. He spoke to me and said he would pray for my son, and I want him to know that my son is now doing very well and that I will continue to pray for him and his community and those suffering from this tragedy. God bless them all. A wonderful priest. Another Father John Joe has shown great leadership and gave a lot of people a person to look up to. We need people like that. As an ambassador for Donegal in Ireland, he gave a lot of people example of what has to be done when the chips are down. Just a big clap for Father Duffy. Well done, says a caller. Another, counselling saves lives, and it goes without saying that it will be so needed by the survivors, relatives, rescuers, emergency services, and the giants in the Creeslough community, and also those who are covering it, like yourself, Greg, and other media touched by it. Another caller, Greg, for a county that often gets referred to as cultures, as a people on the horrendous events of last Friday, we have a million reasons to be so proud of everyone involved in help and rescue throughout the whole heartbreaking week. God bless all, and God comfort and console all the bereaved, and not forgetting those still in hospital recovering. That comes in from Mary. And indeed, you know, we have to sometimes bang the drum for ourselves in the Northwest. Father John Joe amongst the leading drummers for you know, investment and services, but we have so much going for us as well. Father Dunn and Father McGarvey have been a huge support to Father John Joe. They have been excellent. The undertakers as well have done a fantastic job, and indeed, and Father Dunn and Father McGarvey have been mentioned this morning, not least as well from Father John Joe. Another caller says, Father John Joe is a fantastic dynamo at the centre of the St. Joseph's Community Hospital campaign, even when he moved from the Twin Towns up to Creeslough. He never missed meetings and probably was the major factor in remaining open against all HSE opposition. He and the St. Joseph's Committee probably saved lives by keeping St. Joseph's open when it was crucial during the COVID crisis that proved how important community hospital care is. Another, Father John Joe's an incredible human being, not only because of the tragic events of this week in Creeslough. His care and compassion for people is unparalleled. Indeed, he didn't just appear out of nowhere on many different issues, as we've heard. He has been there and has been a support. Okay, we are going to take a break. Keep your music suggestions coming in. I think at this point, there's some people listening looking for the same song. And others which we might not be able to fit in, but I will try my best. That's what we're going to do between 11 and 12, and maybe allow ourselves, all of us, a bit of space to reflect on this week and the future, and just trying to get our heads around everything. Okay, we're going to take a break, and then we'll be back afterwards, so stay right where you are.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday the 14th of October. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S5. It's game number 41. The numbers are 9, 58, 59, 35, 61, 50, 41, 27, 23, and finally 66. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Tourism businesses have a brand new mark of employer excellence, driven by the employee's voice. The Employer Excellence Programme recognises employers who consistently create better workplaces for their employees. Attract and retain top talent. Shine the spotlight on your business. The Employer Excellence Programme. Learn more at falltoireland.ie.
Nutrius Winter Beef Feed offer, directly supported by the Arrivo Fodder Support Fund, is now available at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Super Beef Gold ATP or Nutrius Max Maize Mix, get one free. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
Hurry! The Furniture Show NI ends this weekend. Your last chance to save with massive discounts from leading brands in furniture and interiors. From sofas, beds, flooring and design. CFC have it all reduced in their biggest sale. Don't miss the Furniture Show NI exclusively at CFC Interiors Campsie, Derry.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
At Cooney's Home Interiors, we pride ourselves on offering you the very best in choice, quality and value on all home furnishings. Treat your home with a visit to Cooney's today and choose from our large range of suites, tables, beds, not to mention our large selection of home accessories. Our motto is, if you see it, you can buy it, and we will deliver it to your door. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park. Style and perfection at incredible value.
A brand new pair of brogues
The High Kings, celebrating 15 years together as Ireland's favourite folk group, are back at the Millennium Forum, Derry on the 26th and 27th of January. Tickets available from Millennium Forum box office and millenniumforum.co.uk. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.eu.
Okay, the weather cloudy this morning with outbreaks of showery rain, turning drier and brighter through the morning with sunny spells and scattered showers, developing highs of 10 or 11 degrees. Okay, and just a quick word too. Obviously, because you know, this is Highland Radio and we're speaking on Highland Radio, and John McAteer was one of our guests of the Tyrconnell Tribune who did a wonderful job this week. That's not an exclusion of other media as well, particularly the local media, who all of them are, as we all are, members of the community and are connected in one way or other to this tragedy on a personal level. And as we're blessed with a whole array of media outlets here in Donegal. So the fact that I think there was some nice words said about me and John McAteer of the Tyrconnell Tribune, that's not at the exclusion of all the other journalists across Donegal who treated the topic with great sensitivity and also archived all of the news for those affected or future generations. Okay, I am actually behind on an ad break, so if you bear with me, we'll take one more break, and we really appreciate all the local businesses for their support, by the way, as well. And then we're going to be talking about some of you receiving bills as it relates to the PUP benefits. That's coming up shortly.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Introducing the original influencer. On a platform so effective it has over 3.7 million followers. No need to post selfies, avocados or dog videos to get lots of likes, because this device speaks to over 90% of the nation every week. Say hello to a technology that sends DMs straight to the brain. Welcome to radio. Advertising that's always a direct message. Visit radiocentreireland.ie to see what radio can do for your product or brand.
To find out more about advertising on Highland, call 91 25322 or visit highlandradio.com.
The award-winning Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor now offers a wide range of skin boosters. The injectable moisturiser for under eyes that improves dark circles, fine lines and wrinkles. Also treating the face, neck, chest and hands. This amazing treatment works from the inside out, resulting in brighter, smoother, plumper skin. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. You can download the Genesis app or call 074 32575.
Are you frequently asking others to speak slowly, clearly and loudly? Is listening to the TV or radio becoming harder? If your hearing is affecting your everyday life, Connect Hearing are here to help. Our clinics in Letterkenny and Dunloe are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Take that first step to better hearing. Call us today on 07491 13296. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
I have great news for everyone who's looking for a good night's sleep. RestX Beds are looking forward to welcoming you to their brand new showroom at Mountaintop, Letterkenny. It's one of the biggest and best bed and mattress showrooms in the Northwest and has fantastic opening offers now in store. RestX is the most trusted name in beds and mattresses in the Northwest. Why don't you call in and get the bed of your dreams at RestX Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Hello, Hill 16 Insurance. How can I help you? Up the dubs.
Hi. I am looking for a home insurance quote.
Righto, and what part of Dublin do you live in?
I don't actually live in Dublin.
Right. Do you at least support the dubs?
What? I'm just looking for home insurance.
Well, you're going to have to keep looking, pal, because Hill 16 is Dublin only.
Do you get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want you? Well, at Local Insurance, we are Irish owned and understand your needs. Call us today for a bespoke quote on 0818 894 444. Local insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's local insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Swing into Christmas with the Rat Pack, live at the Griannan Theatre, Letterkenny, December 14th. Direct from London's Leicester Square, and for one night only, enjoy classics from Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin. Tickets from Anne Griannan Theatre box office and annegriannan.com. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Marion Ryan, Consumer Tax Manager at taxback.com, joins us. Good morning, Marion. Thanks for taking the call today.
Great to be here. Great to talk to you.
Right, okay. Now, hundreds of thousands of people have yet to contact Revenue to sort out how they'll pay tax owed on the pandemic unemployment payment received during lockdown. I wonder how many of our listeners are even aware that they were supposed to contact Revenue in this regard. Can you give us the background then to this payment and what we have to pay back?
Yeah, so I suppose not to go back to 2020 there, but when the pandemic hit, first of all, I suppose there was big panic there to get payments, get income to people. There, a lot of people lost their jobs very quickly and couldn't pay wages. So the wage subsidy and the PUP were introduced there, and they were great support at the time. But I suppose the thing with them is that they were deemed as taxable income. So there was PAYE to be paid on them. It wasn't deducted at source at the time, which means that I suppose the employees were getting the full payment of it, and they spent it and they worked on it there, but they do now have to pay the tax owed on it there. And for some people, it's quite a substantial amount they could actually end up owing. Like some people could end up owing about €2,500 in taxes there. So I suppose a lot of people are getting a fright today when they're reading that article and seeing that and hearing it. But I suppose the thing to bear in mind is that it's not immediate that it has to be paid back. The Revenue will allow people to pay it back over the space of 4 years through their tax credits, which means that they'll be paying a little bit more tax every week or every month there for the couple of years to claw back. And another thing I suppose people need to bear in mind is that we can reduce that down an awful amount for people there by filing their tax reviews for the other years. So at the moment, you could potentially be due refunds for 2018, 2019 and 2020-21. So they could all be used to offset and bring down that tax bill for people a bit.
Yeah. Now, who will this be sorted out for automatically, and who might have to make contact with Revenue? That's the bit that confuses me a little.
Yeah, so I suppose it's anyone. So say if you lost your job during the pandemic and you received the PUP, which is the pandemic unemployment payment, so it's the social welfare payment there at the time, that potentially might be yourself. And also as well, it's people that actually worked through the pandemic, but their employer may have received the wage subsidy for them. So that's really going to hit hard, I suppose, at the middle income earners there. So say if you had a job, maybe you were working in the front line, or you had a job and you were working from home. So it wasn't that you weren't working during the pandemic, you were still working under the same amount of stress, but because your employer received the wage subsidy there, so the supplement to help them pay the wages during the pandemic, they're the people that are going to get hit with the really hard tax bills, and they're the people that mightn't even be aware that they received it and that it's coming down the line for them there. So I suppose everyone should really look into their taxes for 2020 and see what the story is with it there. Ask your employer if it's the case that they received the wage subsidy. Just ask them if they did, and if that's the case, that you're probably going to be one of those people there. Now, a lot of people have been aware of this and have filed their tax returns, but I suppose there's 300,000 nearly people that have received these payments that haven't done anything yet. They might have their head buried in the sand, hoping that it'll go away, or maybe a case that they know that the tax liability is looming there for them, and they just simply, with the cost of living crisis that's going on at the moment, they can't comprehend having to pay more tax, so they're kind of kicking it down the line a little bit for themselves.
Yeah, and in terms of those who may be entitled to tax back, because obviously that's the function of your company, of those that make contact, how many sort of end up getting, they're overpaying taxes, or they're not maybe claiming all of their breaks or what have you? Like, of those that contact you, how many sort of are entitled to some sort of a return, and what's the ballpark figure on that, the average?
Yeah, a huge amount of people. So nearly everyone you'd have some sort of an expense in the year. So like, suppose the most common reason for refund for people would be the medical expenses. So if you have any doctor visits or prescription fees or anything like that, you're due back 20% of that in your taxes as well. And then I suppose there's a huge cohort of us as well working from home. So it's a thing called e-worker relief there. So we find in generally at least about 2/3 people are due a tax refund, and it could be up to the amount of about €1,800. That's the average refund that we find for people over the 4 years. So I suppose there's still a huge amount of kind of apathy out there in relation to PAYE workers like ourselves, that we don't ever look into our taxes and we assume that, oh, my employer is going to look after that for me, which is correct and right to an extent, but your employer is not going to claim for your expenses for you there. So it's really worthwhile for people to look into their taxes and make sure that they're getting everything that they're entitled to there.
Yeah, and you obviously need the receipts from your medical expenses or access to them, but a lot of these in the first instance is your word is taken on it, and I think there's a random process as to who they might seek receipts off. Now, I mean, you need access to the receipts or to have the receipts, but in other words, if someone's saying, "Oh, I don't have all that information for the last 3 or 4 years right now," what is the story there?
Yeah. Exactly. So it's random selection, basically, when it comes to the revenue audit, looking for receipts and stuff like that. And say for people who are claiming the e-worker relief, so it's your utility bills that you need access to, or you need to know the amount of it. So how much you paid in your heating, how much you paid in your electricity in the last year or two, and how much you paid for your broadband there. You also as well, it's kind of apportioned out to the number of days in the year that you worked as well, but you don't need any kind of evidence of that. You just need to let the revenue know how many days in the year that you work there. So I suppose you don't need to have them to hand exactly at the moment. You do need to know the amount of them, but it's really easy to, I suppose your doctor will issue out, they have to now with GDPR and everything like that, they have to issue a statement for the last 4 years of how many times you've been there and how much the total cost was. And the pharmacists and stuff like that, they're really good as well. They'll print you off a statement straight away there. So it's best to have these things, because the last thing you want to do is submit your refund application today, get your refund, and then
have revenue
back in 3 years looking for the receipts.
Yeah, revenue after you. That's the last thing we need. All right, Marion, thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Lovely chatting to you.
Right,
thank you.
Take care of yourself, and people can go to taxback.com for more information there if they want. Thank you so much, by the way, for all your music selections. I'm in a bit of a panic here in terms of drawing it all together. It's a long time since I DJ'd, I'm not going to lie. Well, not that I'm DJing, but you know what I mean. Pick songs for people.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union. 9102127.
Hi. Did you know that your Irish Life pension could help the planet? By investing less in companies that harm the environment and more in those trying to help it, while always aiming to give you the strongest possible return.
See irishlife.ie for pension funds that have a responsible approach, or speak to your financial broker or advisor. Irish Life Assurance plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Go full Irish with all the makings of a great breakfast for just $4.93. Go streaky bacon, just $1.39. Tasty white pudding, only 47 cents. Those lovely Irish sausages, just 89 cents. 6 Irish eggs, $1.19. And a loaf of wholemeal bread for 99 cents. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
Inflation busting sale now on at Florid Letterkenny. There's 12mm AC5 European laminate starting from €16.95 a square yard. 8mm AC4 European laminate starting from €11.99 a square yard. And engineered plant oak flooring from only €47.99 a square yard. But hurry, only while stocks last at Florid, Cullion Road, Letterkenny.
Ready for flu season? It could be really busy, so it's best to be prepared. Help protect yourself and the people around you by booking your winter flu vaccination appointment as soon as possible. Book in with our trusted, experienced team at 88 Boots pharmacies nationwide. Book in store or online at boots.ie/flu and give yourself the best protection against flu. Boots, with you for life. Eligibility criteria apply. Charges may apply, subject to availability.
Patterson's The Hall Lifford, one of Ireland's largest kitchen and interior showrooms. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Kitchens, beds, mattresses and furniture, all under one roof. 50% off our X-Display kitchens. Everything you need to make a house a home. At Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
If you're having any hearing difficulties, at Donegal Hearing Clinic we can help. If your hearing loss is slight but you want to look into it, or it's got to the point where you've no other choice, we'll do what it takes to resolve your problem. It may be as simple as a wax removal. Donegal Hearing Clinic, Pierce Road, Letterkenny and Milltown Business Park, Buncrana. Call us on 07491 88470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Avoid the hustle and bustle of town and call into the Glencar Shopping Centre. There's a bar, a restaurant, pharmacy, supermarket, hairdressers, butchers, post office, filling station, laundrette, car wash, sunbeds, barbers, gym, pet shop and bookmakers. With ample car parking, it's your perfect one-stop shop for all your daily needs. The Glencar Shopping Centre, in the heart of the community for over 20 years.
Hurry! The Furniture Show NI ends this weekend. Your last chance to save with massive discounts from leading brands in furniture and interiors. From sofas, beds, flooring and design. CFC have it all reduced in their biggest sale. Don't miss the Furniture Show NI exclusively at CFC Interiors Campsie, Derry.
Hi, I'm Clara and I'm a jewellery box ballerina. Yeah, now with work I'm constantly on my feet, literally going in circles. So being in a cold house just wound me up the wrong way. Then the home energy upgrade happened with significant government grants from SEAI for attic and wall insulation, heat pumps, you name it. Search SEAI Home Energy Upgrade to reduce your use and your energy bills and discover a new world of comfort.
Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. In football, Nike Tiempo Legend Soft Ground in classic black. Adidas Predator Edge, soft ground boots in classic black. Look like Ronaldo in the new Adidas Man United home or away jersey. Or try Salah in the new Nike Liverpool jersey. Get your free name and number printed when you purchase a jersey. In store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Is your current car ready for a change? If so, now is a good time to visit DMG Motors Donegal Town, as we have a great selection of quality approved Skoda and Seat used cars which are serviced, cleaned and ready to go. With finance available and cars to suit all budgets, let us help you upgrade your car today. For more information, call DMG Motors on 074 97 21 396 or view our current used stock on dmgmotors.ie.
Tugan vaccini flu agus COVID-19 an presio atá ag testal do the chorus in mínachta chun tú a chosint ó hinnis trom chúiseach. Sin an fá go chóir de lení, déní sca éasta, eibrethe chóram sláinte, agus éon duine bhfuil ruch sláinte fatharmach ar rú vaccín atá molta áil. Téigh HSC.ie nó glí ar a bhharan I HSC bio ar 1-8-9 7-9 chun óras fina vaccín atá molta dite áil. Ó aimimenacht na sabras a sláinte.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €80 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Okay, there's an early selection. One of you requesting that from Bruce Springsteen, If I Should Fall Behind. And it was Bernadette and Craig Connolly that were looking for that. All right, Karen Kiernan is Chief Executive of The One Family and joins us on the programme now. Karen, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. Right, a report out. I was surprised at the headline, to be honest with you. 80% of lone parents report experiencing stigma or judgmental attitudes. In my naivety, I thought we were beyond that, the majority of us, Karen.
No, unfortunately not. I mean, we work with people parenting on their own and sharing parenting from all over the country, and we hear this all the time. So maybe the big headline prejudice from years ago isn't there, but people still experience it, sometimes in public services, and actually 60% of them said from their family and friends, which we were very surprised about. But unfortunately, people are feeling that they're being judged, when they say they're a lone parent, and they feel that they are being treated differently.
So
And
it's not
that's still a real thing.
necessarily. So it's not necessarily a societal or religious thing, or a neighbour looking down the nose at someone or whatever. It's. I'm not saying that's not part of it as well, but it's beyond that, isn't it? For the majority,
It is. It is, because we know, say, at a structural or legal level, there are discriminations against lone parents and one-parent families in the social welfare system, in our constitution, in various services and government schemes. So there's that kind of level. And then there's just also how people are treated. And these can be very small things, but people pick up on them, and if they're already feeling bad about themselves, this really doesn't help. So actually, after family and friends, media was the next big thing that people found portrayed them negatively. And
how does that manifest itself? Maybe that's too specific, but do you have examples to hand so that we can get an understanding? Is it maybe
in
terms
of
is
media?
Is it like maybe reading texts from people that might say, well, they get everything handed to them, or is it that type of representation in the media? Then
we didn't ask them that, but I think that's a good question. I think my experience, having worked in this area for many years, is that members of the media themselves are far less likely to ask judgmental or inappropriate questions now, whereas 10, 15 years ago they did. So that has definitely changed, which is welcome. But below the line stuff on any kind of media outlet or text, as you say, still shows huge misunderstandings at best, and prejudice at worst against people in one parent
and I
families.
suppose,
that's hurtful.
Yeah, and I can understand that, because there are certain groups that you wouldn't go near a negative text. Now, we don't read them out here, by the way, and I'm not saying we're perfect, don't get me wrong, but I hope we haven't been guilty of saying. But I think it's always important if a group or an individual feel that they've been misrepresented or offended, that they should contact the likes of us here, because we'll be more than happy to learn, because every day is a learning day. Sometimes it's accidental, but also it could be indifference. Indifference and discrimination can amount to the same thing. So when we're highlighting failings in a budget, for example, or benefits of a budget, if you're a one-parent family, you might feel that your plight is not being heard, or no one's asking a question, what are you doing as a state for one-parent families? And in a way, that is then, of course, discrimination. So that could be another example in the media, I presume, Karen.
Yeah, I mean, the budget from a couple of weeks ago, or was it just last week, had absolutely nothing targeted at one-parent families, even though the poorest children live in one-parent families. And all the evidence and research shows that these families have extra barriers, and they need extra supports, and there was just nothing targeted them for it. And they're going to be worse off. Anyone certainly who's reliant on social welfare is going to be far worse off in a couple of months once the kind of, the €600 credit and all that's gone. And it's inexplicable to us in One Family, having met the ministers in that department, having talked to the officials so many times, having produced the research, why this would happen. And parents can see that too. They can see that they're not included, and that other people with disabilities or older people or carers have been supported, as they should be. But it's really hard to see the parents and their children are being left behind, and we're very unclear why. And you're kind of left with, is it just prejudice? Is it just they're not seen as important, or they'll get on with it and suck it up and, not give out, because their lives are so busy and so stressful and they're up against it. They don't have time to be fighting all the time.
Yep.
So the budget was an incredible letdown. And, yesterday we had a big celebration event to mark our 50th anniversary. And all our founders were there, and Mary Robinson, who was our first president. And it was a wonderful occasion. And yet we still had all these problems that parents are facing now.
Yeah, and you asked the question, or the question was asked, if you have experienced negative attitudes because you're a one-parent family, where has it been? Now, 60% of people said it was from family and friends, or that could be the neighbours. They feel they're looking down the nose and whatever. Whatever about people as individuals, it's not excusable. And I thought we had moved forward here, but it's certainly not excusable that 40% feel they've been discriminated against by an arm of the state, such as the health service, or 40% in education, 40% in social protection services, 30% in the workplace. So I'm not in any way excusing the figure for family and friends, but you would hope the training or systems had been put in place that someone might not feel discriminated against when accessing the health service or education, for that matter.
Well, there are. Last month we launched some other research around human rights and equality for one-parent families, and we were really looking at public bodies, government departments, and their public sector duty, where they have to treat people equally. And we found incredible examples of structural discrimination, not just someone's attitude, because you can have a wonderful staff member, and we had examples of that, and you can have people who are deeply personally prejudiced and haven't been trained. So it was a real mix, but there are many examples in all of those different areas of schemes, policies, laws, structures that actively work against people who are parenting on their own. So I'll give you an example. To qualify for the working family payment, for example, it's really for people who are on low incomes, they've got children, and they're working. A lone parent has to work the same number of hours per week as a two-parent family who can split that time between them. So even though they don't have someone else to help them with childcare, they have to work the same amount of time to qualify for that. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't support a family to get off social welfare and into work. We hear reports sometimes from parents who may have chronically ill children in hospital, and sometimes they only want the other parent present. They don't want another family member, but the other parent may not be involved in the child's life. So it's incredible to think there are so many people living in one-parent families, 1 in 5 children, and yet there's still people who don't get that this is a mainstream everyday type of family that you have to think a little bit differently about to help make their lives workable.
There's some serious, very serious stuff that needs to be done to address this. But the stuff that we can change today that might help. And that's maybe our language, because maybe some of this is accidental. Like, say, for instance, a couple might have just got together, or they might have gotten serious, or they've just got married, right? And we might say to them, any kids on the way, or he's having children, but we don't know if they've just lost a child, for instance, through miscarriage, or maybe they can't have children. You know what I mean? And that could feel deeply upsetting to them, but we wouldn't intend that. The same way we would ask someone about their husband or their wife or their partner as well, presuming they must have one, when in fact, we know so many people do. So it's just maybe just think for a moment to make sure we don't cause upset unintentionally either.
Yeah, and that's an example that we heard about, actually, was the presumption that there was a husband and there was somebody there to support, and just the presumption that everyone else in the class or school was in a happily married two-parent family, which of course is not the reality either. And some mothers and dads said they felt quite excluded, actually, at the schoolyard gate, at GAA, ordinary things. And that's difficult. And I suppose it's just us all taking a little bit of responsibility not to assume the person in front of us is like us. Or whether that's someone with a disability, or someone could have just lost their partner or a child, as you say. There's all kinds of things going on in our lives, and it's just being sensitive to
we don't really have to change greatly. It's just slight altering of words. We don't have to pussyfoot around society. It's not about that, or you can't say anything. That it's not that. We're not in that space. It's just a case of considering what impact your words might have if this person is in a position that you didn't believe. And also then practical things like ordering a passport. I mean, having to go to the Gardaí and, you know,
we have to go to court.
Or dependent on maybe if someone's, you know, a widow or whatever it might be. There's different there's different statuses of being single parent, of course. But you know what I mean. There's different hoops that have to be jumped through dependent on the family setup.
Yes, and whether there's whether the other parent is around, what level of legal relationship they have with the child, and then if somebody has been involved in an abusive relationship, that kind of abuse and control can continue right throughout the child's life. We see that very regularly for separated families, and they are having huge difficulties being able to move forward because, you know, access for the child to health services, passport, as you say, going on holidays, child maintenance, all those things can be just another lever of control. And there can be an absolute lack of understanding around that. So there are many people who are having serious problems in Ireland. And I suppose it's to go back to having an open question rather than a presumption.
Yeah.
Because people will tell you, oh, this is my situation, if they're asked in a nice way. It's just not having that presumption because people really feel it. I mean, I know African Americans talk about microaggressions, those little things that just get at people all the time. And that is, in essence, what we hear some parents experience.
Yep.
They go into the Department of Social Protection. They're asked questions they feel are too intrusive. They may have their home inspected. They may have their wardrobes opened. You know, the social welfare inspectors can be very appropriate and they can be very, very intrusive. And that is because some kind of old-fashioned presumption that, you know, you're not supposed to have a man there. But actually, it's also because two-parent families sometimes defraud the welfare system and lone parents get the brunt of it.
Yeah. Another caller says, I had to leave my good friend's house, in inverted commas, after they implied it was sad that my son would never be as loved as their children because he only has me. Now, that's whether that was said directly or not, the people that said that probably just said, oh, she's away or he's away early tonight. Oh, yeah, must be something. And moved on with their life, completely unaware of the impact that those words have stuck with this person to the point where they've texted us in today. And that's probably a person that's trying to do two roles and doing all the different runs and everything to make sure that that child is as loved as a child with two parents. Because the presumption here is that automatically two parents are better, but we know that often, you know, a child in a two-parent household, it depends on how the parents treat the child and so on and so forth. Again,
and not just that, actually, it's also there's longitudinal research from Ireland, Australia, the UK, all showing that children in one-parent families do just as well as two-parent families once the factors of poverty have been adjusted for. So it is poverty and the problems that people face that cause any disadvantage. Not anything else. I think in Ireland, children in one-parent families are slightly better at maths. That's it. That is the only difference. So if their income was as good as everyone else's, there wouldn't be a problem. And their income level is not their fault. It's the state's fault, frankly.
Yeah, and here we are speaking about this important issue that affects so many people, and it's off the back of a survey having to be done about it. But sure, as long as it gets the conversation going and we appreciate your time in helping us tease it out, Karen, this morning. Have a lovely day, will you?
Thank you very much.
Okay, take care of yourself. Thanks for your time. Right, Karen Kernan there, Chief Executive of the One Family. Get in touch with us if that's something that you wish to comment about.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Paul Claffey Tours are delighted to announce that we're heading back to sunny Spain for a second week in June 2023 and once again staying at the luxury Barossa Hotel Complex Cadiz, Spain from June 15th to 22nd. Joining Paul for this unforgettable week will be some of Ireland's best love entertainers, Michael English and his band, and many friends including Brendan Shine, Dominic Kerwin, John McNichol, Jerry Guthrie, Jim Devine, John Hogan, the Stephen Smith Band, The Conquerors, John Wilson, John Malloy and more. The price is only €1,079 half board plus tax and insurance. Call 01685 2244 or see paulclaffeytours.com and don't miss the holiday of a lifetime.
For all the biggest names in cosmetics and makeup, visit McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Choose from Lancome and Clarins, Blank Canvas, Inglot, Note and many more. with a great selection of gift sets also available in-store and online. For any cosmetics or makeup queries, just talk to our resident skincare consultants Mary or Gemma. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at mcgees.ie, with the best, costs less.
To get that job done, call Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny. Generators, portaloos and lighting towers. Also diggers, dumpers, rollers and much, much more. With short-term, long-term and weekend special rates available. Call Gortley Sales and Hire on 91 26 276.
Swing into Christmas with the Rat Pack, live at the Griannan Theatre, Letterkenny, December 14th. Direct from London's Leicester Square, and for one night only, enjoy classics from Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin. Tickets from Anne Griannan Theatre box office and angriannan.com. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
You might think you know Ireland's ancient East, but maybe it's time for a closer look. Uncover stories bold and brave where vibrant city nights follow action-packed days. Set course for countless adventures at Carlingford Adventure Centre, or roam wild in wonder in the Glen of Aherlow, and become captivated by the culture and craft of Kilkenny's cobbled streets. Ireland's ancient East, yours to explore. Keep discovering at discoverireland.ie.
Are you ready for a role or a career with one of Ireland's leading food companies? Due to a further developed business base in Donegal, Avonmore Milk are looking for a milk agent to service established shops and a door-to-door customer base in the Letterkenny, Ramelton and Ballybuffet areas. To apply for this exciting role, forward your CV to pburns@glanbia.ie. That's PBYRNES @glanbia.ie, or call 087 25 33 054.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.eu.
Okie doke, cloudy this morning with outbreaks of showery rain, turning drier and brighter through the morning with sunny spells and scattered showers developing, temperatures of 10 or 11 degrees. Now, for the last hour of the show, we're handing it over to you guys out there. You've been choosing the music and we've got loads of great suggestions in. And it's just whether it what it means to you or what's important to you. It's just something a little bit different. The entertainment, that's entertainment. We'll be back next Friday between 11 and 12. But as I say, just for the week that was in it, we just finish off with some music. Music's so important to us as well. So with that in mind, for those of you watching on our social media channels, we're going to quit it there because obviously from a copyright perspective, even though it's fine on air. Yeah, we have to have clearance to play music. But anyway, it doesn't work like that on social media. So we're going to bid you goodbye